Okay, I'll give it a second here. Yeah, overall, you see the name I've given this here. That's right. The crocodile tears of men going their own way, TFL and INCEL. And why did I give that such a name? Because so many people out here are not willing to take anything serious, or they don't want to do any kind of reflecting on their own behaviors. Okay, and that's why I gave it the stream the title I gave it. Because if all you're going to do is come up and keep whining about the same problems that millions of men are facing, and you're not willing to take any corrective actions in your own life to find a way to make yourself happy, to remove yourself from the environment that's stressing you, then that's what it comes down to, okay? It comes down to the crocodile tears, okay? And I'm not trying to be sarcastic to people. It's just the facts are facts. I can come up here and I can give you all the sound advice. Steve Hoka can come up here and give you all kinds of sound advice to try to help you, but you have to first be willing to help yourself. And that's one of the crux of the problems that I've watched in the manosphere for a long time now. You get stuck in one spot and you don't progress past that spot. I'm not saying that you aren't being dumped on in society. I'm not saying things are fair or right. We have been divided and destroyed as far as the genders goes, as far as the dating arena goes, and so many things have happened that's destroyed so many lives, and so many men out here can't even get somebody in their life. And then you have so many different men that are so worried about fitting in, are not being made fun of, are not being ostracized, that they're going to come up here and they're going to lie to themselves and to the world, okay, about what's going on. And that's the reason I decided I should talk about this a little bit because it really is like the crocodile tears of men going their own way, incel, TFLers. And of course, it's not all TFLers. But the point of the matter is you have to first want to be honest, and you got to be honest with yourself. And you cannot be honest with anybody else if you're not going to be honest with yourself. And if you're honest with yourself, then you understand that you've done everything society said, and you're still being rejected and being rejected and being rejected. So then you have to back up and self reflect and realize that to take yourself out of the situation of all the hurt of rejection, you really need to. This is the reason I said for TFLers and incels. Okay, I got nothing against you going your own way, being a man going their own way, because at least then you would be removing yourself from the stress of trying to impress some other human being. The phoniness of thinking another human being is going to be able to give you your happiness, because that happiness is going to have to start with yourself. And then it's going to have to stay that way because until people get the foundation of a successful relationship corrected and realize, and this is not a gender issue, it's both men and women alike, and realize the foundation has been completely corrupted and destroyed. Anything meaningful and lasting in a relationship came from becoming friends. And then after you became friends and started hanging together, regardless of the gender, between men and women, this friend zone is a crock of crap because the friend zone is tearing down the foundation of a successful relationship. Just like game is a crock of crap because that's saying that You got to be a liar, a deceiver, and a con artist to get your want. So you're going to lie and deceive and use somebody else for your want and then wonder what happened to you. And then you got all these guys that come up here and they'll just repeat the same things over and over and over. Okay? What's happening to them? They're being rejected 1 to 5 seconds and all the stereotypes that we see in society. So, yeah, for TFLers, I tell you, going MGTOW would be the way to go. But unfortunately, MGTOW is one of the corruptest entities here because there's so many fakes and frauds. I know yesterday I probably pissed off a whole bunch of MGTOWers. Oh, yeah. I pissed them right on off because they're phonies. And unfortunately, when you get a MGTOW or somebody calling themselves MGTOW that don't even understand it was literally about walking away from women, that wants to manipulate the meaning to their own want, and then try to argue with you and tell you it was never about the definition that it is, so that they can manipulate the definition to their own want. That's what they've done. They have manipulated the definition to their want. And it becomes literally a joke because they're scared of not fitting in because they want to try to make a phony reputation on the computer to believe, to make other people believe that they're strong and they're this and they're that when they're not. When in Doubt was a prime example of that because this is a guy that was well spoken, that had a good idea, that said the right words to sell. He would have made a great salesman, wouldn't he? Yeah. But he didn't mean what he was saying. When he said he wanted to help TFLers and INCEL guys, he didn't mean it at all. Because if he had actually meant it, he wouldn't have went into a live stream and rubbed salt in the wound. He wouldn't have made the statements he made in my live stream, telling them that they got to rise above and it's okay if I rub salt in their wounds. Okay? He wouldn't be pushing the sex down. That's pushing NWO agenda. That's pushing division. Okay, that's keeping the problem alive. It's the same thing I said yesterday when I probably pissed a whole bunch of MGTOWers off. But the only ones that were really pissed off are the fraudulent, the fakes, the wannabes that are here for all the wrong reasons. Because to say, well, men and women will come back together when they're ready. And meanwhile, we're going to keep pushing division and we're going to act like a bunch of children. And when she does us wrong, we're going to do her wrong. That's not rising above anything. So that just says that his words rise above are fraudulent as he is. Because you're not rising above, you're joining in. And unfortunately, it's not most people's fault at all. It's social engineering. We are in a sexually over-sexualized society. People have turned sex into love. They literally believe that sex is love when sex has never been love. But you got a whole bunch of people out here that literally believe this. Okay? And because they actually believe it, they're believing a lie. That's what they're doing. They're believing in a lie. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with sex. What I'm saying is sex is not the foundation, okay, of any successful relationship. Sex has been overrated and pushed and put here deliberately. Steve Hoke probably said it best to you when he told you that he feels that the sexual industry has been pushed by the CIA. That's why it's free for everybody, because that's where it buries your mind. And that would be a correct statement. It is part of an agenda by the people at the top to help you destroy yourself and to help the division in the genders and to help keep the family unit broke up and separated. That's what it was all about. And most people don't want to hear that. So they get the crocodile tears out of because they don't want to hear it. Anything that's truthful that you don't want to hear, you get mad at. And there's no point of being mad at the truth because the truth didn't wound you. You got wounded by the truth because you was a liar, because you was a deceiver. And you don't want to believe you're a liar or deceiver, but you can't get wounded by truth if you're not deceiving or lying. You might get wounded by truth if you don't understand what's being said to you is the truth. And the truth of the matter is a relationship was never built on sex. Okay, that's like women who think the relationship is built on you owe me. You owe me. That's right. You got to do something for me because I have entitlement, because I'm entitled, because you have a penis between your legs. You owe me. I seen a good example of that in the show today where the little boy come running over to the dad and wanted cookies. And then he went over and took the cookies he gave over his dad that he'd bought from the store and gave them to the girl because the little girl, she wasn't going to talk to him or acknowledge him unless he gave her something. So she wanted cookies. So for this boy to get this little girl's attention, he had to go come up with cookies to give to her. Now that was in a movie, but that is social engineering. That is teaching that little 7-year-old boy and that 7-year-old girl that boy owes you. You don't give him the time of day unless there's something for you in it. That he has to come up with something to give to you, a materialistic item, food, whatever. Okay? For you to give him any attention, for you to talk to him as another human being. That is social engineering to divide us. And it does start at a young age like that. That's the reason that scene was in that movie. It was no accident that they had that scene in that movie. That is social engineering right in your face. Okay? So what you've done is you're teaching little boys that they had to go out and get something to give the little girl, and the little girl, for doing nothing at all, has to be paid a trinket in order to talk to the little boy. You talk about the breakdown of society, it was right there in your face. But the crocodile tears are all the winery that we got going on. If I come up and tell the truth, so many people get mad. And I know I've been taking a heyday to the MGTOW I've been going their own way right now. I've been going after them pretty hard the last few videos. But that's because nobody's called them out, and the people that are calling them out are being ignored. And you got so many frauds, and they want to keep claiming they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're growing and growing, and we're making a difference in society when they're not making no difference whatsoever, when they're only going down the rabbit hole, when they're only going along with the agenda that's going to cause the collapse of their society. That's all they're doing. They're going along with the propaganda. So yesterday, they were crying crocodile tears because they were having to hear a hardcore truth that they didn't want to hear. So they were thumbing down my my stream as I was making the stream because they had nothing better to do than to thumb it down because it was pissing them off. When in doubt, right away, I ain't got tolerance for this. Well, no, you don't got tolerance for truth. Truth hurts you. You wasn't about to help other people. See, when you come up and help other people, you can't help other people through deceit. If you think you're here to help other people, but you're just using lies and trickery to convince them you're here to help them, to sell something onto them, well, you're a snake oil salesman, huh? You're a criminal. You should be caught out for your behavior. And if you're mad at me for calling out your behavior, I really don't care. Because it is our behaviors that has destroyed this society. And our behaviors came from social engineering. from the top down. And I don't think it's that hard for people to practice doing unto somebody else that they want done unto themselves. But obviously, we got a lot of phonies out here that them words alone infuriates them, pisses them right off. And they're all going to say there's nothing wrong with me while they're up there going along with what's destroyed us and continuing to destroy other people's lives for their own selfish gain. And if you're up here for the wrong reason, that means you're up here to make money. You're up here for pretend fame. You're up here feeding a phony reputation to yourself that you don't got for your ego. You're not even the person you're claiming to be because you can hide behind your keyboard. You're not helping nobody. To help people, you got to first want to do the right thing. Helping people don't come along with being a snake salesman and a snake oil salesman and deceiving people to sell your product. That's not helping people. That's selfishness to help your own self. At the cost of whoever you can hurt, you don't care because you don't have care. And so, yeah, we have a lot of crocodile tears going on in the manosphere. I've got a lot of people that I piss off a lot of time. But I wouldn't piss you off, you'd be honest. If you'd be honest and actually care and actually try to take seriously the stuff that I tell you, you could actually help yourself and help society. I don't know. I do understand TFLers like when Warren says, why would you want to go out and break your ass to help support a society who's denied you and pushed you out? And I understand Warren totally when he says that because I'm with him on that. Why would you? You wouldn't. Why do you want to be part or take part in a society that's made labels and categories up and looked at you in 1 to 5 seconds and stuck you in a label and pushed you out? Because these people doing this don't want them labels they're creating to be pushed onto them. It's that mentality of wanting up somebody else, thinking you're better than somebody else, you know, and somehow you're more successful than somebody else off of a man-made thing. And not understanding, just like with the monetary system, how fraudulent it is and how it's used to control us all. And how just a handful of people own and run the monetary system in the entire world and have all the wealth they'll ever need because they own it. They print it anytime they need it for themselves. They'll never be broke because they'll always have. And you, on the other hand, it don't matter how much they need, they have it. But you, on the other hand, you're not allowed to have because you're being used to control you because you're a slave. See, our mentality is to look down. It's just like Pastor Dow, okay, did a video the other day talking about the mayor of New York City. And he showed the article where he made an open public speech telling the people in New York that he owns them. That's right, that he owns their bodies. And that they will put anything in their bodies he tells them to put in their bodies because he owns them. And do we see anybody retaliating against this guy? No, we don't. This guy should be thrown out of office immediately because nobody owns somebody else's body. Nobody. This is that psychopathic mentality that we have going on in our world. It's one more time, goes right back to NWO, goes right back to everybody wants to tell somebody else what to do, but nobody wants to be told what to do themselves. And that is the mentality. To think that you're above other people, to think that you owe other people, or that they owe you. And this is a sick mentality people want to have over the top of other people. They don't want it done onto themselves, but they're so willingly going along with doing wrong onto somebody else. So see, I don't care if I piss off MGTOW or TFLers or incels because I'm going to still tell you the truth. Because there is only one fix, and that is to start having care for people you don't even know. That is to start recognizing right from wrong. That is to do unto one as you want done unto yourself. It is the personal responsibility nobody wants to take. You have no room to whine and cry if you can't take that personal responsibility. Okay, that's really where that comes from. You just don't have no room to whine and cry if you can't take that responsibility. So there's not too much I can say about that because you can whine and cry all you want. You know, it's no different than fraudulent MGTOWs who come up here and say all this stuff that they know you want to hear and they use it as a sales pitch. So, okay, and Ron says, I think it covers all the TFL topics. Yeah, I really do. I mean, I would agree with Ron on that. The thing is I want to give a name like this because I think this is what I see. Is I see crocodile tears, I see phony tears, I see a lot of whining, I see a lot of anger. You know, I did a live stream yesterday and seems I pissed a whole bunch of MGTOWers off. Have I heard of Michael Jones? No, I don't think I have. Okay. And I might be pissing a lot of MGTOWers off or incels off or whoever off in the manosphere, but I'm pissing them off for truth. And if you're fraudulent and you're pissed off because you're caught out, that's not my fault that you came up here and played a game. It's not my fault you come up here and was dishonest with people. That's your fault. And that's to the people who do that. The people who want to come up here and lie and deceive others and give good snake oil salesman speeches to sell their junk on somebody else that has no intentions on helping anybody else, that's only there for their self gratification, I don't have no respect for you. And I will never have respect for you. Because I've tried to help people for years and I seriously care about people, but I want what's right for all of us. I don't want the genders staying divided. I don't want TFL to go on forever. I don't want men and women fighting one another and dumping on each other. I want people to grow the hell up and see what they're doing to each other and recognize their wrongs and stop it. But so many people don't want to stop it. They want to go with that 3-year-old mentality, that 5-year-old mentality. And they want to keep all that division going and all that infighting going. And meanwhile, they're too oblivious to understand they're helping to bring down their own society. They're helping to crash their own society and replay history again through their ignorance or their ability to be all about themselves. And unfortunately, people have this mentality. I don't really see, Ron, I don't really get into whether you're Catholic or Christian or whatever your religion is. Everybody has a right to their own belief. And I'm not going to slam somebody else for their belief. Who am I to tell you what you can and can't believe? Okay? When it comes to that topic, whether you're Catholic, whether you're Christian, whether you're Jehovah, whatever you are, I'm not going to get on to you about that, okay? Because I believe this. We all have a right to our own belief. Do I believe we have a creator? I believe there is a creator. Do I believe there's life after death? My life experiences, I know there is. But I'm not going to believe a lot of the stuff that's been put out there because all you got to do is practice a little thinking and you'll realize you've been lied to. And when you look around you and you see a world filled full of evil, liar, deceivers, and it's a war of evil versus good because it really is, okay? But yet all these Bibles are in every motel room, and if evil was that evil, then evil wouldn't want them. That book was that good, they would be taking that book out. You can say, well, no, that book's protected by the Lord, you're going to say. I say, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. These books didn't print themselves. I'm not saying that it's all a bunch of BS. I'm not saying there ain't some truth in there. What I'm saying is there's a lot of deception that's been told when it comes to that topic. And if you call them out on the deception, then you're going to get more crocodile tears. No lie. Then you get just more crocodile tears. That's all you'll get. And that's what I see in the manosphere is nothing but crocodile tears. Over and over and over and over again. I mean, I'm sure I made a few MGTOWers very pissed off and they had crocodile tears running down their face yesterday, all angry they were with me. And I'm sure that when in doubt was furious with me. He had a low tolerance for truth. He couldn't handle the truth, which says he's a snake oil salesman, which says he's a deceiver. He's here for the wrong reasons. Well, no, I'm not going to say it's purely. I'm going to say there's a lot of truth to the Bible being used as the script for NWO. And this is why people seeing things playing themselves out. I'm going to say there's probably an awful lot of truth to that because these Bibles didn't come from nowhere. And if these Bibles were so accurate, then people have to really back up on practice critical thinking skills. If I just take the story I was taught as a child when I had to go to Sunday school and church, okay, as a child, I was taught that the Lord created the earth. I was taught that he put the animals on the earth. And then after he put the animals on the earth, he put Adam on the earth. And then he took a rib from Adam and created Eve so Adam could have a mate. That's right. And now the earth was created brand new. And you had one man and one woman on the earth along with the animals. And that was the only existence of any kind of mankind on the face of the earth. And then I had to question that. Well, if that be the case, then I have to say, so if Adam and Eve were African American or African black people, where did I come from? If they were Chinese people, where did I come from? So there begs to be a difference there. This means Adam and Eve would have had to have sex and bear a child, and then they'd had to bear another child of the opposite sex. And so brother and sister would have had to grow up to be doing each other, to have children, and them children had to grow up and do each other, and them children had to grow up and do each other, and the list would go on and on and on to populate our planet. So therefore, I call BS with that story. Then when you look up Jesus, our Creator's Son, you find out Jesus was born in this year and blah blah crucified in that year, and then you go to another country and it was a whole different year, a whole different time, okay, with a different name, the exact same story at a different time. Then another country, the exact same story again at a different time. Then you think about that and that don't add up, and then you think about, so we would kill our own Creator's child. And if we would kill our own Creator's child, then why wouldn't we change our Creator's words? If we would kill our Creator's child, we would sure to heck change our Creator's words. It's in your face. But people don't want to back up to think about the actual truth. We've all been lied to and deceived. Every last one of us. I know there's life after death just from my own experiences. I believe we probably do have a creator. I believe there's a good chance that reincarnation is real. But can I back anything up that I just said? No. But I know it to be factual just because of my own experiences in my own life that there's life after death. So will I judge anybody else for what they believe when it comes to that topic? No, not at all. Will I start a fight with them because I don't believe in what they believe in when it comes to that topic? No. I want to actually help people. We cannot help people unless people are willing to help themselves. But we cannot help people when people want to come up here and be fraudulent and liars and deceivers and pretend to be something they're not. And they're not actually here to help anybody but their own self. And they're not going to own up to it or admit it to you because then you'd call them out on it. You know, I've had things in my life happen, Ron, that tells me there is life after death. I have no doubts about it at all. I actually literally have no doubts about it whatsoever. I don't understand how, but I know there is. Okay, I can't tell you what it's like or anything like that, or where you're going to go or anything like that, but I'm going to tell you that you don't die when you die. Your body dies, but you don't die. I'm going to tell you, I know that to be factual. You know, yeah, you remember me talking about the cloud in my house, okay, that I saw years later on the documentary when they actually caught the same cloud that my whole family saw, zoomed in on it, and found a human face in the middle of it. And then they went and did their study of the place that was being haunted, where the cloud was in it, found that human face was the actual owner of the house that built the house. So do I say yes? I say there is because I've had several things happen in my life. It's even like with my own deceased brother, my youngest brother, was in my house in Nebraska. He sure was after he's passed away. You know, so he's been dead for 4 or 5 years and he's in my house. So, you know, it's one of them things. I know that there is, and I don't care what other people say. I'm going to go with what I've experienced in my life. And we got a lot of cop outs here that'll just blame it on anything that they can come up with. They'll say, oh, there's a lot of electricity in there, and it makes your mind think this or believe that or see that, and that's what's going on. There was nothing really there. That's what your cop outs do. That's what people with no common sense are scared by the fact of it, that won't acknowledge it. It's no different than the truthers that won't come over to the manosphere because it's too personal for them, because they're crying crocodile tears, because it scares the crap out of them. MGTOWers who are fraudulent, and you call them out and they're pissed off at you and crying crocodile tears and downing you, giving you thumbs downs on your stream because you dared to speak truth. They don't want truth. They want to deceive. They want to lie. They want to tell untruths. You know, and if we're up here to help people, we cannot help people unless they're willing to help themselves. And if they're willing to help themselves, then Steve Hoker, I'd be right here to help them. But then you got all these snake salesmen that are running around as MGTOWers like when in doubt that had no intentions on helping anybody. I don't care if he called you brother and called the TFL brothers and called the INCELs brothers. He went right off the bombshell and wanted to slaughter them and tell them they had to rise above and was willing to rub what he probably ain't even getting himself in their face so that he could think he was more of a man. He's wanting to base his manship on How many times he put his penis in a hole? And if he's going to base his I'm a better man than you and his manship on how many times he puts a penis in another person's hole, he's deluded. Because that's not what makes him a man. That's going right down the rabbit hole. Just like when he's putting his sex dolls and shit at the end of his videos, he's telling on himself. He's running right along with NWO's agenda. Divide and conquer, completely destroy our society, break up the genders. Sex never belonged at the top of any list when it comes to relationships. It was last on the list for a reason. And our society has moved it to the front of the list. And so many women, so many people want to think sex is actually love when sex is not love. So I'm not going to sit and get into it with anybody. I'm just going to keep spilling the truth whether they like it or not. And if you're a MGTOW and you're running from what I'm saying, you're running because you're here for the wrong reasons. You're mad at me for calling you out on your own behaviors. But if you'd have been honest with yourself or honest about people around you, I wouldn't be calling you out on it. See, when in doubt would have never been called out by me if he had been honest. But he wasn't being honest. So he got mad because he got caught being dishonest. That's really what he's mad about. He has low tolerance for truth is really what he said. He's not willing to practice his own words and rise above. He wants to be the great salesman that's going to preach rise above, but he ain't even willing to do it himself. Because if he's willing to do it himself, he'd look into what somebody says, he'd realize what the real truth is, and he would realize coming up here and lying to everybody and deceiving everybody, he's not rising above nothing. He's a fraud. He's just a well-spoken fraud is what he is. And it's not that I dislike the guy. It's just his behaviors is of that of what our society's become. He's unable to rise above. He's unable to practice what he preaches. So really, he should just shut his mouth because he don't practice what he preaches anyhow. If you're going to preach it on to other people, then you should at least be man enough to practice what you preach. You know, when I said my goal is to bring the genders back together, he don't want to bring the genders back together. That'll happen on its own when we decide it's okay for it to happen. Until then, we're going to act like a bunch of 5-year-olds and continue to fight one another. That's basically what he's telling you. And meanwhile, go ahead and get your sex doll or your robot. That's right, because he's taking the power back from the women. But we don't throw the power in the garbage. No, he wants the power for himself so he can wield it over the top of somebody else. And you know, the sad thing about that is nobody wants to have somebody else wielding power over the top of them. And that's not a gender issue. Nobody wants that. Nobody likes it. But everybody wants to do it to somebody else. You don't want it done to you, but you're going to sure do it to somebody else. And oh, yeah, I know I piss them off when I say that, don't I? That's because they know I'm telling the truth. They know that's exactly what they're doing. And they hate me for telling the world what they're really doing. Maybe they should have backed up and tried to be honest with themselves and then come up here and want to do the right thing to begin with. Instead of coming up here being a freaking bigot, a hypocrite, and telling on yourself because you're so smart, you know. You can outsmart everybody around you because you're so intelligent. You're so intelligent, you told on yourself. Boy, I'm glad I'm not as smart as you. I say that sarcastically because really, there's so many people here that think they're so smart. And they actually believe they're so smart that they can do stuff and nobody will know they're doing it because they're just that intelligent. And they've actually convinced themselves of that. And they come up here and they stick their foot in their mouth and get pissed off when they're called out for it. And if you hadn't rolled up here thinking you were smarter than everybody around you, because your ego has corrupted your mind, just like power and greed does, you wouldn't be pissed off crying crocodile tears. You're pissed off crying crocodile tears because you got wounded by truth, because you was a fraud from the beginning. That's correct. I'm going to go with what Arthur Gray just said. Everyone makes mistakes, but it's about owning up to your mistakes and learning from your mistakes so that you don't repeat them again. We're all human beings, and every last one of us makes mistakes. But you don't come up and tell me you're here to help INCEL guys and TFLers, and you really want to help them, and have your great snake oil salesman speech going, and be preaching rise above, okay? And then start rubbing salt in the middle of these people's wounds and become furiously mad because they see through you, because you was lying to them and deceiving them. You know, I knew all along that if he was a fraud, he would tell on himself, and it sure didn't take him long to tell on himself. I would like to see him been real. And if he's, coming up here on the internet and doing what you're doing and hiding behind a keyboard, it's fine. But if you're here with ill intentions and you're only here for your own selfish gain, I don't respect you. If you're here speaking up and you're telling truth, I'm with you. If you're up here on the internet just watching movies or videos and you're leaving other people alone and you're doing your own thing, living your own life, when you're talking to friends on Facebook or whatever you're doing, I got nothing against you. You're not harming nobody else. You're not going out spilling a bunch of BS. But if you're going to come up here and call yourself a man going your own way and then you're going to flip the definition to your own want, are you going to believe your television set when it said a man going their own way means taking your own path and not walking away from your opposite gender at all? And you're going to believe your television set when they tell you got to have game? So, in other words, you got to be a con artist, a liar, a deceiver? Yeah. Are you going to believe people like Dan and Jen that used to be up here on YouTube talking dating scene topics to all the young teens? And they were preaching for the girls to write up 4 or 5 pages. Didn't matter how many pages it took, a list of expectations from the guy. And the guy had to meet all these expectations or he didn't have a chance to be with her. That was preaching the breakup of our family unit. That was preaching the division. That was preaching in self entitlement issues, creating narcissists and psychopaths. Dan and Jen wasn't helping nobody. They were helping the establishment destroy the genders. That's why I said when Steve Hoke brought up pornography and said what he said about the CIA, I stand with Steve because Steve was very accurate about saying what he said. That wasn't no lie. Pornography is all over the internet for free, and it's deliberately for free all over the internet. It is about destroying us. They know that you got a sex drive and they're using your own sex drive as a weapon against you. And you're not willing to see that. See, when in doubt flashes that at the end of his video, he puts this naked female doll up there for everybody to look at the body. Because that's all it's about to him. He comes up here and preaches blah, 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 you know, about sex, 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 and these guys that come up here and say women are throwing themselves at him. That's one of the biggest fraudulent statements I've ever heard. Well, any guy that says women are throwing themselves at him is a complete liar. I don't care what they say, they're a complete liar and they know they're a liar. Okay, and they know they're lying when they're saying it. And they don't care. They're going to still keep pushing that lie. I do not respect people like that. I absolutely have no respect for somebody like that because they're a fraud, they're fake. They're not here to help anybody. They're trying to build their own self-confidence or their own ego up, their image up. And they're false, they're fake, they're phony. I'm not here for ego. I'm not here for pretend fame. Nope, I've been here a long time. No, I'm not here for none of the above. I'm here for what's right for everybody, and I care about everybody. I don't agree with NWO. I've been speaking against NWO for years. I've done many, many videos on the political end. Many videos, more than I can even count. That wasn't even dating scene related. I've only moved back to dating scene topics for the last couple, 3 months now. And people that know me know that I did a lot of political videos. Many, many, many. I probably got more political videos than I do dating videos. Even though I've done one hell of a lot of dating videos, I've done probably twice as many political videos. I've moved back over to the dating and got away from the political for a while. I felt that was the direction I needed to go. Only because the political gets to be so old. So, I mean, everything says so many lies out there. That's why I came up and talked about a cashless society. That's why I came up and talked about the border and the BS that Trump is pushing about the wall and the border and all of the BS that's going on there because people need to understand that that's been an engineered, that so-called crisis of immigrants crossing the border has been engineered. These immigrants crossing the border have been paid to do so. That's right, they've been given money to do so. That's what Mr. Soros does, is destabilize societies. This is where Mr. Georgie boy's gotten his wealth from, is working for the establishment and helping to destabilize societies and scam the stock market. And he's a criminal. And I'll guarantee you that old Georgie boy was over there and these migrants crossing the border. Yeah, that's all been engineered and paid. And then they lie to the public to infuriate you. They love it. They love it. That's part of crashing your country. That's what the whole agenda's been all along, was to bring America down, to crash this country. Why do you think the dating scene's so messed up? Because that was part of the agenda. You destroy everything about that society. It's jobs, it's housing. That's right, it's people, relationships, family, everything. You destroy everything there is to everything about a society, and you divide everybody up from races to genders, and you get them all fighting one another. Black Lives Matters was no accident. It was part of the agenda. Sure was. The false flags is no accident. It's part of the agenda to take more rights away from you, to lock you down, to enslave you, and to bring your country down. Nobody wants to look into that stuff. They all want to avoid it, or they don't want to see it. It's like in the truthers will not cross over to the dating scene topics or the manosphere because it's too personal for them. So they would rather turn their back and look the other way. There's a lot of people in the manosphere that will not cross over into the truthers atmosphere because that scares the bejesus out of them, and they would rather believe what's being fed to them. It's the same mentality in reverse. And it is what's destroying our society. These people are getting their wants. They're repeating what they've always done, and they're bringing this country down right under your nose. But it don't matter how much I preach it, people just don't understand it. The people that do understand it knows full well what I'm telling them, and they know I'm telling the truth. If you really want to help at all, then you got to start wanting to do the right thing. We cannot overturn anything that's criminal unless we start caring about each other and start being willing to do the right thing on each other. The starting point has to be on an individual basis. Bringing the genders back together is a must. Pushing robots and sex dolls is part of NWO. That is not a good thing. That's going to help them with their population reduction and make you into a complete idiot. That's all that's going to do. You are part of the problem. And unfortunately, when in doubt, is part of the problem. Because he's going along with NWO agendas and don't even know he is because he's not awake. He's sound asleep and he's up here for the wrong reasons. Now he's bumped heads with me, and I'm sure he's pretty mad at me now. And he'll just have to get over it. He shouldn't have been a fraud to begin with, and he wouldn't be mad at me. He shouldn't have thought he was so smart that he could outsmart me. Because the only thing he done was stick his foot in his mouth. Now he's mad at me. Though I'm not angry, I'm not mad at him. I just call him out for what it is. I can't dislike somebody I don't know. I understand his behavior because I understand what social engineering's done to all of us. And I'm not going to blame him for the social engineering because he didn't do that to himself. He's not responsible for that. But he is responsible for his own actions. And if he's going to preach rise above, then he should practice what he preaches and start looking into the stuff I'm telling him so that he can actually practice what he preaches and rise above. Because even off the grid's more awake than when in doubt is. And I don't know off the grid, but I know he's more awake than when in doubt is. And I don't have no qualms about saying that because it's the truth. And unfortunately, the truth is the truth, and whether you like it or not. So to the manosphere, to MGTOWers, Ming going your own way, are you really? And if you're changing the definition around your own want, you're an idiot. If you're going to believe what mainstream media has told you what MGTOW is, you're an idiot. That's been deliberately done. Would I tell TFLers to go MGTOW? Hell yeah. They got nothing to lose. They're being rejected all the time anyhow. It's actually going to be better for them. It's going to remove that rejection off their shoulders. They're only going to find their happiness from within themselves anyhow. You have to find ways to take your mind off of it and remove yourself from the problem that's destroying your life. Remove yourself from the problem that's destroying your life. Put your life back together again. And get an attitude of I don't give a fuck. But give a fuck about what's right. Because being tough and being strong means you're not going to let that rejection tear you up. You're going to walk away from it. And you're going to find ways to self-improve for your own self. And you're going to be yourself, and you're still going to care about other people. Because if you can care about other people, care about what's right, and practice doing right unto others, you are rising above. And if you want to educate yourself to what's really going on around you and not be a chicken or a coward, and be scared to know what's going on, open your eyes, start looking what's going on in your community, start looking at what the government's telling you on TV, and start looking for yourself and see if it's really happening. When you start really truly paying attention to what's going on around you, you're going to start seeing through all of the bullshit and the lies. You'll probably get depressed. You'll probably get disgusted over what you're seeing. It's a normal reaction, especially when you've been lied to your whole life. I know nobody wants to believe that they've been lied to their whole life. They don't want to believe they went to a school system and went to school and was lied to. That's a hard pill to swallow. But it is the truth. It doesn't change the fact that it's the truth. You know, Steve Hoker recently has flipped his topics, but the stuff he's talking about is true. These people are scam artists. You say, well, why has he done that? Well, because he's trying to help you. If you can recognize these scam artists, he's taking money out of their pocket. They can't deceive and lie to you because you see through them. So see, even Steve's still trying to help you. See, this is why, it don't matter that he's not on the dating scene topic, because guess what? He's still trying to help you. He's trying to point something out he sees that he knows is fraudulent. He wants you to know this so you don't fall down that rabbit hole yourself. And that's what helping other people is about. And he does that from his heart because he wants to help you. Well, I told you Steve was a good man. I don't care what people said about him. Even when we weren't talking, I already knew that Steve was a good man. So, and it just stays the way it is, man. If Steve was up here deceiving and lying to the world, I'd call him out on it. But that's hard to call Steve out when he's being honest now, isn't it? That's right. I have nothing but respect for him. And he changed the topic on his last couple of videos, but he's correct. And he's still trying to help you regardless of what. May not be dating scene related, but that doesn't matter. I haven't always done dating scene. You all know that. I've done a lot of political videos because I try to help you to understand what's really going on around you so that you'll see it yourself. But anyhow, I don't think I'm going to stay up here much longer. I wanted to get this in. And with that being said, I'm going to get on out of here. Okay, I'll probably be back tomorrow or something. We'll see. When I feel like it, if I got something to say, I'll be up here. Till then, you all have a good one.